Hello and welcome to my empty bookshelf. Welcome to my bookshelf. I actually am still using the other bookshelf that I have. I will tilt these here, but I've kind of run out of room on those. So I've decided to buy new bookshelves. In making this decision, I know my girl's up there, I realized that if all goes to plan, I will read 100 books this year. So I wanted to keep this bookshelf just like this and make this my 100 books bookshelf. So eventually, once the year's over, they'll all move and I'll fill it in and maybe do the same thing next year. But for now, this is where I'm at. So if this is the way I kind of organized it. This is January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December. This is going to be a bookathon or readathon that I'm planning to do up here. Those are just where I'm going to end up putting these planners down here. I do have one for every year since 2015, so those are going to go there. And then I have those empty shelves. Those are Once Upon a Time book clubs that I bought a book from. Where's my book from? An October book, I believe, will go there. But anywho, this is my book club, my books for the year. So if all goes according to plan, I will have read 8 books a month and my readathon. So that'll take me to 100 books this year. And I'm kind of well on my way. I did 8 in January, and I did 7, not including this small Candy Hearts book. That's just kind of like a Valentine's Day book that I bought. But these are the books that I read in February. So I am slowly buying my books for the year. I don't want to, buy all the books all at once because I'm sure it'll be a lot of money. One of my categories on my book list this year is books that I already have on my shelf. So that's why you'll see at least one book kind of already in each month. And then this is just a sugar. I'm doing a sugar fast, so I'm just reading this. I'm not sure if I'm actually counting it because I'm reading 3 sort of devotionals that I'm kind of not even putting in this category, but those are my books for the year. So for now, let's go ahead and talk about February. So these are the books that I read in February. I read Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte, Dearest Josephine by Carolyn George. I read The Resurrection of Fulgencio Ramirez by Rudy Dries. I just bought this one sort of like on Valentine's Day. Again, I'm not really counting that one. Oops, something fell back there. I read Transcendent Kingdom by Gayasi, I think. I read Wintering by Catherine May. The Girl by Michelle Morgan. And I read these 20 Love Poems and a Song of Despair by Pablo Neruda. This one was such a good love poems choice. I got it from Half Price Books, so there's actually writing all over the margins, but it actually really did help and kind of felt like whoever it was that wrote in this really opened and expanded the poems already, so that was really cool. I read a poem almost every night, or maybe 2, and I think that that's the way I'm going to do it because I don't really read poetry, but I decided to go ahead and do that and kind of read it at night so I can, kind of ponder on it as I go to sleep and try to, think about it in my mind. But that's what I decided to do, and these are really good ones. And it just fit perfectly in the month. I shared a few of them with my husband, and as I fell asleep, and I thought that was, it was just so fitting, to be honest. The next book I read was The Girl by Michelle Morgan. It's the Marilyn Monroe, kind of, you know, a little bit about her life in in terms of how she was as a businesswoman and in her career and decisions that she made for her career. Not really, I think this didn't really talk about her personal life too much, kind of just glossed over a bit because her personal life kind of fell into or played a bit in her career, obviously. So it was really interesting to read about her. A lot of things people don't realize about her, and it talks about in the book, is that everybody thinks that she was like the parts that she played, you know, that she was that ditzy, dumb blonde, but really she was very smart. She was very well read. She was very soft-spoken and intelligent and very driven. Like, she took a lot of classes on acting and different types, and she wanted to, she did create her own production and company. And so it talks a lot about that, or what you don't know about Marilyn Monroe. And I thought it was very interesting. She's not really someone that I, again, aspire to, or she wasn't before. And after reading this, I really do take on a new appreciation for her. So I did really like it. I will say it was a little bit of a hard read for me. Of all the books, this one was the hardest one for me because it talks a lot about the technical aspects of acting and producing and stuff that, like, if you're not that interested in acting or producing it, I don't know, it has a lot of references to people that I had no idea who they are, and so it just felt a little bit choppy when they start getting too technical, but it still was very interesting about Marilyn Monroe. This self-helpy type book that I read was Wintering. It says how I learned to flourish when life became frozen. And we actually had a pretty big snowstorm here in North Texas, in all of Texas actually. And we were homebound for a whole week because my company, the power went out and it took a week to get it back. Unless you've been living under a rock, you know what happened in Texas during, it was actually Valentine's week. But anyway, I decided to pick this up, and it was so perfect for that time because we were actually stuck at home. And the premise of this book is just to really understand what wintering is in your life. It's a season, not really like winter season, but a season that, you know, really stops you in your tracks and forces you to really take a look at everything that's going on in your life and slow down. And so that is what this book was about, and it was a perfect time to read it as well. I felt very in tune with what she was talking about, not only in February and that week, but also the last few months for me have been a wintering time. I would say really starting in August. And many, you know, I've shared this before, but my dad did pass in August. And then shortly after I did, you know, get the COVID, and it just really, forced me to stop in my tracks. And I really didn't know a word for it before, until I read this book, and it was just my season. I am trying to, bitterly crawl my way out of it. No, I'm just kidding. But it is, a time where what she says in the book is just to appreciate that time in your life and try to learn from it and still appreciate it, I would say. So that is what I got from this book, and something that really did help me to appreciate this time in my life. Next book that I read is Transcendent Kingdom by Eyre. I believe that's how you say her name. Sorry if I butchered it. So I read actually Homegoing, the author's first book, probably 2 or 3 years ago. I'm not too sure now. But that book, Homegoing, is so good. I literally still think about it, and it just moved me in such a way that I didn't think any book could, to be honest. So I expected a lot from this book, and while it's good, and the story is is also moving and like, you know, such a good book, and it's written very well. I just expected so much more after reading Homegoing. But anyway, this is such a good book. It's about this family who moves from Africa, and they, you know, the family tries to, it just talks about their struggle. And one of the biggest things is the brother of the author, or, you know, our main girl here, he becomes addicted to drugs, and how that story has really transformed, or how seeing that at such a young age has really transformed her life, and also what she did as an adult, which is to create, she becomes a scientist to look at how addiction, how it works in the brain. And so it just really talks about, it's very, very scientific and very, there's a lot of science in this. So I'm not a science girl, and maybe that's why it didn't really, you know, strike a chord with me or whatever, but it's a good story, but it's not something that, you know, I did like as much as I loved her first novel, Homegoing. I really recommend that one if you have not read it. But yeah, this one, it was a little bit too, not sci-fi, but science-y, that I didn't, or no, science-y is a word, but I didn't like it as much as I thought I would. The last 3 books are my favorite books of the month, and I think like they're pretty up there. So this is my favorite book of the month. It's The Resurrection of Fulgencio Ramirez. It is so good. It's my favorite one. It's a tale of a long lost love, sort of the girl that got away, but it's a lot more than that. It talks about how this guy, this, you know, Mexican, it's a story of in Texas, a border town that's fiction, but a lot of the border towns are this way. So my mom and dad actually lived in a border town for quite a few years, about 8 years. So I just pictured this perfect in my mind, you know, their town. But it's a story about a Mexican boy who falls in love with a white girl on the, you know, she's obviously on the other side of the border. He lives on both sides of the border, I believe, or this, at the time that he met her, he was on the Texas side of the border. But anyway, he falls in love with her, and he decides right then and there that his whole life is gonna be like, he's gonna change his whole life to win her love and to be worthy of her love. And so he decides to go to school and become a pharmacist, and in doing, like, he goes to Texas A&M, which is like super hard to get into, but anyway, he gets in somehow, and he, you know, is going to study pharmacy, and a lot of things happen that they don't end up being together. But one of the things is that he's cursed, you know, his family is cursed, and he realizes it later on in life, and he has to go back and undo the curse, or sort of undo the curse that was said in his, you know, his ancestors have put on his family. And he does, and then he has to still win her over. I don't know, it's so good. I don't want to give it away in case you are interested in reading it, but it's kind of weird because in it, you know, the people who have passed on, he's supposed to be touched by God or something, so, or the Virgin Mary, and, you know, she moves him forward in his life, that, you know, like, she gets him into A&M college, which is an impossible feat. He can see her. I don't know. It is a little, you know, a little bit odd that he can talk to the Virgin and see and talk to dead people that have moved on in his life. But, you know, it's really good. I don't know, I really did like it. I thought, you know, that it was just a story about redemption and about long lost loves, and I I fell in love with it, to be honest. I read it in 2 days. You know, it talks a lot, it has a lot of dates of going back and forth between the past and the future, because it is something that happened when they were children, and then it goes back, you know, 20 years, but, or goes forward 20 or 30 years or so. But there is one of the biggest things that happens on Valentine's Day, on you know, a Valentine's Day in of their youth. And then, you know, I don't know, it talks about like writing letters, and oh my gosh, also he's a singer. I forgot this best part. He's a singer, so a lot of it has songs. Let me find, there's a lot of songs in this book, and because he sings. And so anyway, what I did is I went on Spotify and I saved all the songs to a playlist. So I will share that down below as well, because while you're reading, definitely listen to the music. It makes such a difference. Oh, it was so perfect. The atmosphere of this book, the songs, all of it. I loved it. So definitely take a look at that. And if you do, listen to it while the playlist is going as well. The next book I read is Dearest Josephine. I didn't realize after, but this is sort of a YA book, but whatever, it was still cute. It's a story about a girl who, her father passes, and she moves into this mansion. It is based in the UK, and so she moves into this mansion. I love this because, one, it has bees, and this year my theme of the year is bees. 2, it has love letters, and my husband and I actually wrote love letters to each other when we were younger. And 3, it has, it's just perfectly played in, because it talks about when she moves into this mansion. The mansion, she's writes an email to her friend. The mansion had Jane Eyre vibes, and I had just finished reading Jane Eyre, and so for her to say like, oh, Mr. Are you going to see Mr. Rochester? And one of the dad of the boy that she falls in love with, his name is Mr. Rock. And so I don't know, I just was like, Rock is short for Rochester. I don't know. It was a perfect thing to read after reading Jane Eyre. So anyway, this girl finds letters in her father's old, you know, estate, and she reads them and falls in love with the guy, or the boy who penned the letters. And the letters are a little odd, because her name is the same name as the girl from the letters. I don't know how that happens. I guess, you know, it's just a common name. But she while this is happening, like, you read the letters, but you also read her emails to her best friend, and her text messages to her mom. And it's very you know, old-fashioned, I guess, like with the letters, and also new with, you know, her text messages. And so it was really cute, such a good read. You'll have to see what happens, and how the Josephine in the letters, you know, is how they have the same name. So you'll have to read that to see it, but it's really cute. And I thought it was perfect to read after Jane Eyre. It just was perfect. The last book I read was Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. I actually listened to this on audiobook because I didn't want to mess up my book. Oh my gosh, though, it is so perfect. I love this book. I read it just like it was the first book that I read this year, and I fell in love right away. First of all, I love that her whole life, like, it's a sad story, but her whole life changed though because of a snowstorm and because of a patch of ice. And at the time we were, afterward, when I read that, we had the snowstorm afterward here. And I mean, so many things happened around the snowstorm because, y'all, I'm from Texas. We don't get snow here. So anyway, it was such a big deal. But afterward, she something, you know, happened. Her life changes sort of after this patch of ice, and you know, we had ice here, and I just thought it was so fitting to read in February. But anyway, it's such a good story of redemption and of love, and of like love that lasts. And it was just so beautiful, such a great read, or I did listen to it. But I also love this book too as well. It has gold letter, or gold I don't know how you say that, letters, and then this like is raised, as you can see. And I I love this book. It's just like a collector's book. I'll have to show you what publishing company it is. Here it's by Chiltern. So if you want to go on their website, I'll link it below so you can get this book as well. But oh my gosh, such a good book and perfect for February. I won't give it up too much, but I love that she, you know, still became a woman, like a woman to be proud of on her own, without the help of anyone. And then still she went, after she became the person who she, oh shoot, I'm giving it away a bit. But anyway, it's just a good book. So definitely check it out. So those were the books that I read in February. It was such a good reading month for me. I enjoyed all of the books, and it was so hard for me to narrow down a favorite, but I ended up with that one just because it was a book that I had never read before, or type that I've never read before. But anyway, if you like these books, I will list them below, and stay tuned for March. These books were so thick that I could only read 7 in March, but it'll work out. But over here I have a lot thinner books for March, I should say. So I'm still missing one more, but I'm already diving into March. So if you want to join me in this reading life, subscribe and stay tuned. Talk to you later.